So what I believe is that I think there is a major the chances of extinction of the BPO or some call center services out there.
So the BPOs which used to handle those, yes, they are not going to survive this way. Launching is easy, but then keeping it alive is hard. So that's when we figured that's a great problem to solve for. He just patiently waited. I think it understood that this is a bot. I should wait for 2 more seconds for the bot to continue.
So today we have on the AIBROS Show Neethu Mariam Joy with us, who is the co-founder and CTO of SuperBryn, which is, I feel, a revolution in the field of AI voice agents. And we'll get to know about SuperBryn later in the podcast. And this conversation is going to be really, really informative and knowledgeable because I feel this should be really informative and knowledgeable because Neethu ma'am is a PhD from IIT Madras, and we'll get to learn a lot more things, new things from her, I believe. So, I believe let's get this conversation started. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing good, thank you, guys.
Yeah. So, are we good to start? Should we proceed with the conversation ahead?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah. So, from Kottayam to King's College and then IIT Madras, and IIT Madras to founding Superbrain, right? What sparked your fascination with AI, and why did you specifically choose the voice area? Like, we know that this is a specialty at your PhD, but there should be some spark area, right? So, tell us about that.
Okay. Honestly, I landed in AI quite by accident. So when I
Okay.
was planning to do my PhD, so I applied in IIT Madras, and at that point of time, you don't get to choose your guide. So it is kind
Yeah.
of allocated to you. And for me, Professor Umesh Srinivasan was allocated. So he was in working in automatic speech recognition at that time, and this was in 2010. And
Okay.
this was the time that AI got its big boom, that after the
Mm-hmm.
winter that it started booming. And speech was
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest areas that AI had quite a big impact on. So almost I think I was at the right place at the right time, quite by accident. And then once you are there at that inflection point, obviously you go with the tide, right? And I was able to learn from that inflection point onwards everything everything that was new that came up in the field of speech recognition as well as in image processing and all of that. I think I was really fortunate to be at that place, and then also a great institute like IIT Madras, and under the guidance of Professor Umesh. It was a great time. So, and why specifically in voice AI? Like, because I landed up in that space, so that was a space I really loved and enjoyed. And over the period of my PhD and then after postdoc, it really because voice is is the most primary way that we communicate, right? And so
Right.
to automate that, to make the machines understand what you are communicating, how to make them all the nuances surrounding that, that was very fascinating for me. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, you landed up at the right time in the AI voice space, and that's how you got interest into this space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are also a top performer at Bits Pilani, right? Which makes you kind of a prodigy person, like a book nerd, I might say. So has that academic excellence or academic achievement influenced you to, move to the path of entrepreneurship? Does that have a
Oh,
contribution in
yes.
that?
I always have been a nerd. That's something I'm particularly proud of. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but then if somebody asked me during that period, during my MTech or PhD days, that I ever want to be an entrepreneur, that was a big fat no at that point. All I wanted to be at that stage was to be a professor, and then as the PhD progressed, I was like, no, I don't want to be a professor. Maybe more like an, research and development sort of position in companies. And once the
Mm-hmm.
PhD and the postdoc was over, those are the kind of roles that came to me. So when I worked for 3.5 years across MNCs in R&D roles, although initially those that was sort of the dream job that I wanted to have, but over the course I realized that what you can do in those roles is very limited. So I it's not exactly what you love and what you get to do, as those are very different from the projects that were handed over to you, right? So
Right.
it's like most of what you love becomes your hobby projects that you do on the weekends, and what you don't necessarily want to do becomes your full-time sort of thing. So there was that discrepancy that was happening, and then back in last year I thought, okay, let's take a break and then see where that entrepreneurship path can lead you to. And then I think that's how I was experimenting, sort of like whether entrepreneurship is something that would fit me. And I think over the course of like 1 year by now, after a lot of experimentations and pivotings and all of that, it seems like, yeah, somehow that suits, and I'm happy
Yeah.
in that.
Great, great, great. So entrepreneurship was a part of experiment that you were having, but your keen interest was towards research and teaching side, the
Still,
professor
yes,
side.
yes,
Yeah.
not teaching. No, don't want to do teaching
Okay.
anymore, but
Okay.
research, yes.
Okay. So tell us something about SuperBryn, ma'am. What is SuperBryn, and what was that? Like, what was that eureka moment when you realized that let's work on this idea and call it SuperBryn, and why SuperBryn? So tell us everything about it.
Okay. So you know that in startup, your first idea is a dumb idea, right? So we
Yeah.
started with a very dumb idea, me and my co-founder Nikita.
Okay.
Well, at that point, we thought that was a great one. So we thought, and this was the time, like in LinkedIn, everybody is flooding your post with, "I build a voice agent in 10 minutes, like 1 minute top." Things like that. And we thought, hey, that's a nice thing. I know about voice. I can build voice agents. I have a lot of platforms available, right? So we started playing around with it, started building voice agents, and a couple of people that we knew reached out to us and asked, like, hey, can you build this voice agent for, I know, so and so use case, a pre-qualification agent, and sort of. So we built out one, because launching one is like a child's play at this point of time with the orchestration
Right.
layers that you have right now.
Right.
And we thought, and foolishly we thought, that's it, job done, easy money and things like that. And we gave it to the particular client. So this was a lead pre-qualification agent, so we gave it to them. They wanted in a couple of languages, so we said we can do Hindi and English, and we gave it to them. And they launched it, so it went out into production. Real live calls started coming in, and that's when the problem started, right? Because there are 101 ways that people talk to a voice agent.
Hmm.
There are 101 ways that the voice agent breaks. So our foolish thought was, we give it out into production, it's their headache. But then it's not like that. Once it launches and goes into production, and once it breaks, you need to know why it broke, where it broke, and how to fix it, right?
Right.
So all of these things was a total black box, because once you give it to the client, somebody has to sit and listen to, let's just say, hundreds and thousands of calls, figure out
Right.
which of those calls was the problem,
Hmm.
um, why was there a problem, exactly what was the problem, pinpoint out the problem, find a solution for that, come back to the infra and fix it. Now we had to do all of that for thousands, hundreds and thousands of calls, and it was not the greatest thing to do with your time, listening to calls and figuring it out. So we thought there
Right.
might be an easier, better way to do this, right? Launching is easy, but then keeping it alive is hard. So
Right.
that's when we figured that's a great problem to solve for. Everybody is launching it, so there are going to be a great number of voice agents out there, but nobody knows how to keep it alive in production, and that's where we are going to be. And that's how SuperBrain was born.
Okay, great, great, great. So what exactly SuperBrain does? How do you operate with the already existing AI voice agent? So, as I was reading and I watched Nikita's video on YouTube,
Yeah,
so she was showing some kind of platform where you can identify the foundation of the call, the purpose of the call, and
yeah.
different stages of the call, right? And then you can fix it out. So, please elaborate on that process also.
So SuperBrain is a platform where when your agent goes live in production, and it doesn't matter where you have built your agent, across which platform you have built it, all we need is you
Mm-hmm.
have built out an agent, and you have somewhere stored your recordings of the calls. You have a way to get the transcripts, preferably
Mm-hmm.
timestamped, and all of those details regarding the agent. Put it all in a,
Okay.
as simple as that. Put it all in a CSV file and upload it into our
Mm-hmm.
dashboard, into the
Okay.
SuperBrain dashboard. And from there on, what happen? And also, you need to upload your prompt of the particular agent as well, so that we know what this agent is supposed to do. And from those information, what SuperBryn does is it identifies which are those, what is the workflow of that particular agent. For example, if it's an
Mm-hmm.
appointment booking one, so there is a sequence of activity that it's supposed to do. It is supposed to first greet the user,
Mm-hmm.
then introduce who he or the agent, who he or she the agent is, what is the purpose of that particular call, and to ask whether they are looking for an appointment, and if so, find out an appropriate slot for that, confirm that
Mm-hmm.
particular slot, and then finally end the call. So there's a sequence of activities going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so every call can be mapped into this sequence of activity. And what initially SuperBrain does is, after mapping it into this every call to this activity, it sees where a particular call has gone beyond the scope. Has the user asked something which is beyond the scope of the call, or some new information has come in and the agent didn't know how to handle it? So where all the agent has failed during the call was, uh, while comparing it with the ideal call flow, is what
Mm-hmm.
SuperBrain does initially. And beyond that, beyond identification, it tells you, hey, these are all the pitfalls that the agent did. This is how you can correct it in prompt. So initially we give you prompt suggestions by, from your initial prompt, after making these suggestions, you can have a better agent. So this is
Mm-hmm.
what is one of the features of the product. Second one is,
Mm-hmm.
is another big problem in voice agents, is interruptions, where
Right.
either the user is interrupting the agent, which shows user's frustration, or the agent is interrupting the user, which is a big no-no. So once the user is talking, the agent shouldn't interrupt. So right now we have brought out a feature where you can identify the places in calls where the agent is interrupting the user, and then we provide you fixes of how to fix that, not to have the agent interrupt the user over much.
Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. So, so this was the identification part, and you are making the human aware that, hey, these are the areas where your AI agent is missing. Uh,
Yes.
these areas to be fixed. So, how? So, does SuperBrain also helps AI agent to enhance their performance and efficiency? Is that
Yes.
an also
Yeah.
area?
So there are three parts, right? One is,
Uh-huh.
you have to identify if at all there was an error. Second, what is
Yeah.
the sort of error? And third, how do you fix that error?
Yeah.
That's the part I think you are alluding to. That's what we call
Yeah.
recommendations. So
Mhm.
whenever we identify an error, we provide the fixes recommendations to the developer who is sitting on the other side and monitoring the agent.
Mhm.
Recommendations in terms of prompt, in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of guardrails, in terms of workflows, how to fix it, and all of that. So all of those recommendations are provided at this stage. Now,
Mhm.
these recommendations goes back to the person who is monitoring the agent, right? He or she can choose to go ahead with the recommendations or not go ahead with the recommendations. So there is a human in the loop sort of feedback which is happening right now. What we
So the
envision.
recommendations, so the recommendations are platform specific. Like if I'm making my AI voice agent on some other orchestration platform, so do you provide suggestions based on the platform, or are those general suggestions?
Most of the prompt suggestions are generic ones, because across the
Okay.
platforms it doesn't matter. The infra
Okay.
suggestions that we are bringing about, although have a most generic in nature, the specific
Hmm.
the words that each platform use are very different. So that is something that we are
Yeah.
planning to incorporate, so that it's easy.
Hmm.
If you're launching it in Vapi, there's a different term that is used for that particular um, let's just say wait time period, wait threshold or something. So
Yeah.
you provide
Yeah.
that exact one, so that people don't have to go and hunt down, where do I have to make this change, because you suggested it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now it is happening. The recommendations are given. The human can accept or reject the recommendation, and that becomes, and then put it as backup part of the workflow. What we
Hmm.
envision in the future is to have self-learning agents, where
Okay.
the mistakes are identified, the recommendations are known, and it is automatically fixed, so that you do away with the human in the loop, and then your agent self corrects or self learns.
Hmm. So just a curious question in my mind. So let's say this podcast goes live and Vapi and other orchestration platforms watch this conversation, and they in future they come up with an idea like, hey, why not let's integrate these features into our platform itself. So then what would be the strategy of Superbrain? Do you feel, is it replicable? If yes, how are you guys protecting it out?
Interesting question, and this is exactly the question that we get from our VCs as well. So I
Yeah.
guess we do have sort of an answer for this. So all the orchestration players of the world, like Vapi, retail, and all, they are
Yeah.
focusing upon making sure that you can launch an agent, a voice agent, as seamlessly as possible. They are, we believe, from the correct current trajectory of what they are doing, they are focusing upon making sure that you can get as much integrations as possible in terms of CRMs, ERPs, your Slacks, and all of those. There is a
Yeah.
small amount of testing element that they bring in, so but at the core they are focusing upon that development environment where
Hmm.
your launch is as seamless as possible. And then there is
Okay.
another set of tools which comes about, which is into testing the voice agents before it launches and goes into production. So there are companies like Hamming, Koval, Canonical, and the likes, which tells you you build an agent across any of these platforms, port it to our platform, and we'll stress test it across various
Hmm.
environments, situations, personas, languages, and the likes. So they give you much more confidence. So their goal is to make sure your agent is sort of ready to go live in the world. Our
Hmm.
job comes after that. Our job is to, once you have done all of these things, or even if you have skipped the test step, whichever, you go live in production, your agent is out in the wild and it messes up. And our job is to identify where it messed up, how it messed up, and to give you the fix of, to
Hmm.
correct your agent. So we are
Hmm.
at the very end of the spectrum. And
Okay.
can any of these platforms build it? I don't think that's in their immediate SOP to build that. For example, for a
Hmm.
VAPI, would they make sure that your agent is launched as seamlessly as possible? I think that's their focus, rather than focusing upon is it working well, where it is breaking, things like that. Maybe
Hmm.
into the future they might get into that, but not today.
Hmm. So by the time they'll get into this area, Superbrain would be a really big name in the industry itself, no?
Hopefully.
Sounds good. So let's talk something about VAQI that you mentioned in one of your LinkedIn posts.
Hmm.
So VAQI, which is Voice Agent Quality Index, I believe.
Hmm.
So how can founders or agency owners like me leverage this framework to improve their voice agents' performance in production? Is it helpful in the long run, or how can we use it?
Okay. So the purpose behind such a metric, so that metric was
Hmm.
brought out by Deep Gram. The
Yeah.
purpose behind the metric is to have one single number tell you if agent A is better than agent B. So there is like, this is the mark that agent A gets, this is the mark that agent B gets. Bigger the mark, the
Okay.
better the agent, right? So that was the purpose of that. uh, Otherwise, how would you know that you have two agents, A and B, for the same task? Which one is better? You have a bunch of metrics that you have to look through, like latency, the accuracy, the silence handling, and all of that. And for somebody who is not very familiar with all of these, somebody who just wants to launch the best agent, all of these are a bunch of metrics that make zero sense to
Right.
them. And how do they identify, should I launch A, should I launch B? So that's the only thing that they want to know, right? So
Yeah.
metrics, simple metrics like this, like one number metric like this, make it very easy to make that decision. So
Okay.
that's the best part of VAQI.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, like, is it possible for the for us as developers to evaluate the Waki score for our voice agents, and how's that process goes,
So
like in the
right
deep
now they are
run?
not giving out an API to simply measure it. How they have done it is, they have, let's just say you create two agents, they run their some quite a bit of simulated testing on that, At the end of the
Mm,
testing, they measure a couple of metrics and then brought it out as a single score. So for
mm,
an independent person like you or me building something at the application layer, right now measuring VAQI is not as easy unless you have a way to do the simulated testing across. So if you can do simulated testing across multiple platforms or a single platform, and then measure these parameters and get the VAQI score, perfect. So that's how it goes right
okay.
now.
Okay, okay, got it. So there's no direct interaction with the VAQI score. You need to go through these platforms which you mentioned,
Yeah,
right?
somewhere you can do testing, get the
Yeah.
scores, and then make an assessment. Yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So let's come to the discussion of the platforms, the orchestration platforms that are available in the market right now.
Mhm.
Uh, when I want to build an AI voice agent for my client, how should I decide which voice orchestration platform to choose from the ones available in the market right now? So there are multiple platforms available: Play AI, Retail, Vapi, an Indian platform named Bolna AI is also there, right?
Mhm.
So, what key parameters should I keep in my mind while choosing the right platform for my projects?
Two factors. One, what sort of project? What is the scope of it? How complex or how simple the agent is,
Hmm.
and what is its use? Second is what is its use case. So
Okay.
some platforms are specifically meant for customer support agents or HR agents. So the platform you
Hmm.
mentioned, Bolna, they specifically cater for HR agents. Retail
Okay.
specifically caters for customer service agents, things like that. So again, the use case matters. Secondly, how much is the bandwidth of how you can create the agent? So if you're particularly looking for, a no code sort of thing that you can launch in 10 minutes,
Hmm.
retail, since Flow AI, all of those are great examples. But if you want to have a little bit more leeway in how you are creating, you need a little bit more low code thing. Wapi is something that is very developer friendly. And if you want to
Hmm.
go full code sort of way, there are open source platforms like LiveKit and PipeCat, which helps you get there. So it depends upon your bandwidth, your expertise, and the use case, uh,
Hmm.
which uh, which can help you narrow down which platform that you want to use.
So they are more or less the same, but the use case differs in which they operate.
Use
Is
case
that
differs. How much control you want over the agent differs,
okay?
because some platforms they don't give. It's pretty much like a black box. So it's like you deploy, you have nothing. You cannot go back and change much over there.
Hmm.
It and so as somebody who launches the agent, you have zero control. Versus on the other
Hmm.
end of the spectrum, you have lots of control when you do something like an open source LifeKit or PipeCat. So you can see
Yeah.
the logs, you can figure out where it has broken. But then again, it also depends upon your expertise of how good you are at to know the nuances of to launch the voice agent, because there are a lot of parameters that you need to have a lot of knowledge about to make that work. Versus platforms like Vapi, Retail, and all you have to do is choose certain things. There are certain preset parameters which can help you, faster 10 minutes, you can launch everything. But
Right.
then
Right.
again, at the
Right.
cost of how much control you want.
Okay. Okay. So is it like the more control you have, the better AI voice agent you can build? Is it something like that? Can we understand it in this way?
Yes. No, I okay. Yes and no, uh, because the
Yeah.
more control you have, the more your ability to tweak that agent, to tune that agent, and your ability to figure out what went wrong when it went into production and what tweaks you can do to make it better. Versus
Yeah.
a black box, you know the agent failed, but then you don't know what to do to make it better. So you're sort of
Hmm.
lost over there. Here, at least you have some control on what you can do.
Yeah. So ultimately, you have the greater control, the greater power to modify your voice agent according to your will. But at the same time, you need to have that kind of qualification or that kind of knowledge, right?
Yes.
To use those parameters in an efficient way and could
Yeah.
get the best results out, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, what according to you is a well architected AI voice agent? So, if I ask you the definition of it, what components would you include when you define a well architected AI voice agent, and what components should be specifically there, both technically and experientially?
Base layers, which is the speech to text, LLM, and text to speech. If you're going for a cascaded pipeline or a voice to
Uh-huh.
voice uh, interface, sorry, voice to voice model like your OpenAI real time and the likes, it
Mm-hmm.
depends heavily upon your use cases. So if you want a really personalized voice, want to bring your own LLM is for a specified use case like healthcare, and within it you go deep dive into one particular use case, things like that. Then you need to have much more control over your LLMs and
Right.
how it responds. So maybe cascaded pipeline in that case is suitable for you. So either way, those
Mm-hmm.
three legs or the combination of those as a black box is a must. From there, so that is the basic pillar, and from there, it depends upon how you are defining your agent in terms of prompt. What are its scopes? What are its limitations? What are its guardrails?
Mm-hmm.
How is that workflow? So, prompt engineering is a big part of how your voice agent is going to perform. And thirdly is the infrastructure. It defines like when your agent should talk, when it should be silent, how should it behave when the user talks over it, how should it be empathetic, should it be not, should it be proactive. All of those things comes at the infra layer. So there are a bunch of parameters you can tweak to do that. So together, it's a mix of all of these things which defines how your end agent is going to look like.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So prompt engineering is an important aspect. Then how your infrastructure is built. So that is what going to help the AI agent to handle the situations. And one more thing that you mentioned.
At the initial, how you choose your, I mean, what you are choosing for your STT, LLM, and TTS legs.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
that defines how much, like if your STT is really bad, it cannot handle a particular dialect or accent or something, your agent breaks at
Mm-hmm.
that point because
Mm-hmm.
it cannot understand what it has heard. And if you're using an LLM, like a thinking, reasoning LLM, which takes a lot of time to get to that answer, your latency is gonna go for a toss. And so
Mm-hmm.
it takes a very long time for you'll feel like the agent takes a really long time before it answers something. And finally your TTS legs, it's basically what you hear, right? That voice of the agent, and it can be
Right.
robotic, monotonic, or it can be very natural. So
Yeah.
how you are configuring all of these legs makes a lot of difference.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about the behavior of a voice bot, of an AI voice agent. Okay, so many of founders like me, they emphasize metrics like latency and the prompt engineering and everything like that. But in one of your LinkedIn posts, you stressed the importance of a voice bot's behavioral quality, right?
Mhm.
So, how can someone like me strike the right balance between technical performance as well as the conversational experience that the user gets? So how to get that right balance?
Okay. So same it see, at the core what you're building is the same. It's just these three legs and what goes behind them and so on and so forth. So
Right.
um, ultimately, how do you want your voice agent to be? It can fall, so it's the same workflow, same agent. It can have like check one, check two, check three. It can have a very monotonic conversation, still a conversation. It works, it meets your
Right.
objective. Or it can have a very natural, proactive conversation which end user is going to love. That's also a
Mhm.
conversation. So which one would be the best one for your use case? Because in certain areas, certain use cases, it doesn't matter that you need to have a very natural conversation, nothing like that. You just need to get the info, finish, done, over. But in cases like a healthcare use case where it is important that the bot responds with empathy, it sounds more natural, resonates with the user, though all those qualities do matter. So ultimately, ultimately it's the end user who is going to relate to this bot and figure out, hey, this is a good one or a bad one. So that is that behavioral component or the conversational quality that makes the difference. for the voice agent. Secondly, I think this is much more important because when we say that a voice agent is good or bad, you need to demarcate in your head, like it obviously a voice agent is deployed for a particular business purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is, for example, if it's an appointment booking or scheduling, so the objective of the call is, was the appointment successfully booked or scheduled, right?
Right. Right.
And it has, how do you differentiate between that business outcome versus the voice agent's performance is, it needs to be very clear. For example, the voice agent's performance is measured in terms of its latency, its
Mm-hmm.
accuracy, its way to handle the conversation, its adherence to the workflows and things like that. Now, having followed through all through that, at the end, the user who is speaking to the agent can still decide, I don't want to book an appointment. That's not the
Right.
agent's fault. The agent did it perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there should be a clear demarcation between how your business goals are met versus how the voice of how the voice AI agent is performing. But mostly, what I've seen is when you see these metrics posted online saying that my agent converted 600 whatever deals and things like that. I wonder, okay, so it either means that you have a really great product, which means that you
Yeah.
can get more deals converted, or is it the age?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make that clear line of distinction that my agent is good so it converted this, or my
Yeah.
product is good so even if I put a
Yeah.
crappy agent it would be able to do this? So there is that
Yeah. Should we
demarcation
consider
there.
it? Should we consider it the ability of the agent, or are those 600 clients really interested to
So,
work with
yeah.
you? It all,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, so it all boils down the fact that you need to have two different segregations. One
Yes.
is the business requirement or the business goal that you need to cover with the help of a AI voice agent, and the AI voice agent on how it is
How good
dealing
it
the
is. Yeah.
yeah, how good it is, how it is handling the customer, how it is like handling the processes end to end, right?
Yes.
Mm. Okay. So, since we are talking so much about voice agents, do you have any experience to share with us, like where you might be working with an AI voice agent, you might be testing it out, and it you observe some unreal interaction or some unexpected interaction from the AI voice agent. So, some kind of experience you would like to share with us,
Yeah, the most surprising one was when we build out the agent, we want it to be like so perfect, right? There should
right?
not be any hesitations. It should know all the answers. It should, be proactive. It should be like the ideal, I don't know, the salesperson, the human that is out there.
Yeah.
But then what I noticed when we put it out in production was the ultimate user who is interacting with this agent, they're very lenient with it. So even if your agent
Okay.
bumbles, it interrupts, or that's small, uh, sort of things which creeps into the conversation, they are very lenient with it. They're very forgiving of that. So there was one instance where we launched the agent, and it says hello, and there's a monologue that should come after, but then there was a slight lag, and the user started interrupting, hello, 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 and things like that. It went on for 2 3 minutes, and then all the bot could say till that point was hello, and then the user interrupts, and then somehow the end user didn't cut the call and went off. He just
Mhm.
patiently waited. I think it understood that this is a bot. I should wait for 2 more seconds for the bot to continue. It continued,
Okay.
and then after that, the flow was seamless. Like it was able to do the whole thing and everything. But so that's the thing. So it messes up obviously, because it cannot anticipate any and every interaction
Mm.
that's going to come its way. But the funny thing
Mhm.
is, the humans are very understanding of that, and somehow compensates for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you humans are aware that okay, this is a bot, and I should wait patiently to get my
I
things
think
done.
it's pretty much same in the human to human conversation also, right? When you feel that
Yeah,
the other person is struggling to get a point, you just take a pause, let them, continue speaking, let them get
absolutely.
their things out. So I guess that same sort of behavior comes into the voice agents, how when they interact with the voice agent as well. I think it's
Mm.
thus the engineers and the people who are trying to build the bot feels like, no, it has to be perfect, it should not do this and that. But
Hmm.
ultimately the end user, I feel, is much more receptive or forgiving of its faults.
So a pinch of imperfection is always required when you build an AI voice agent
Inch of
to
imperfection makes it, I think, a little bit human. Yeah.
humanic. Okay, got it. Okay. So AI voice agents is growing exponentially, and we every day we are trying to enhance the efficiency of our AI voice agents, right? We are
Mhm.
trying to connect it with some of the other CRMs or some of the other applications out there. So what I believe is that I think there is a major, major chances of extinction of the BPO or some call center services out there, which exist
Mhm.
right now. So
Mhm.
as we know that Indian call center contributes to like a major pillar in the global BPO services, right? It's like billions of dollars of market out there. With the rapid growth of AI voice agents, do you believe that these call centers will still remain relevant, or are we going to replace these call centers in the future using AI voice agents?
That's the hype, right? Like, AI is coming for your jobs and the likes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so specifically related to voice agents and the BPO, right now, whatever use case that you see the voice agents being deployed, those are entry level use cases, right?
Okay.
Those are not complex ones. These are the ones which has like a very definitive structure to the call, like point A to point B to point C. There is, like, in cases of appointment bookings and feedback loops and things like that. uh, the moment and but It's getting entry into complex use cases like sales pitch
Mm-hmm.
calls and the things like that, which requires a much more brain for it to interact with, much more proactive use cases as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there so the entry level ones, the most repetitive ones, is what voice agents are handling, and those they are doing perfectly. So the BPOs which used to handle those, yes, they are not going to survive this way. But the complex ones, for example, if you have a product support center, things like that, which is a much more complex use case, uh, although voice agents are making its entry over there, yeah, once it is perfected, once it is gone, yes, you need to so there will be a definite amount of cut of jobs over there. But that being said, not there is this not all the jobs, but then maybe to the level that there is a supervisory roles and things like that, where whatever the agent cannot handle, it has to escalate to a human agent, things like that.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
maybe a certain amount of human workforce will remain, so that whatever the agents cannot handle, it will be passed on to the human agent, and they'll continue to take the calls and the likes.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Again, so yeah, AI do and will be coming for your jobs, but then not to the extent that it is hyped about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But not completely, but for a larger scale,
for
right?
a larger scale, yes.
Yeah, because I was having a research for one of my clients to build AI voice agents. So where an employee charges $3,000 to $4,000 USD a month to be on calls, to attend calls, to handle appointments out there, an AI agent can handle that volume of call very efficiently in just one third of that amount, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and that is just the salary of the employee. What about the telephonic charges that is being included into when the human is calling, right?
Hmm.
So AI agents cover all of that aspects, and it's still one third of the price that on human operates, right? So
Yes.
it's a major shift. So what you can assume is that you can hire three AI agents that can triple your volume or volume of handling calls, but you are still at the dedicated price that you have like decided right now for the a human agent to handle, right?
Yeah. Again, at the
uh,
cost of, I think this is again where that we hope our product can help. Where this is you assuming that the agent that you launched is working perfectly, right?
yeah.
What if it's not? What if it breaks
Yeah.
at the it may not break in the first call or the 10th call. It may break in
Yeah.
the 150th call, and you don't know why. You have a frustrated customer there, and you lost a customer basically, whereas a human would not have lost that customer, right? So where it
Mm,
broke, how it broke, why it broke, what is the fix, all of those also needs to be addressed. So it's not like AI launching an AI agent is like that magical fix to things and then it's gonna work so well, and you know never even have to think about taking another employee and things like that. There is an additional cost which, like, maybe on one hand you don't have to keep as much people in that initial phase, like let's just say that BPO phase or something, but then you have a new workforce who comes in, who actually sits and monitors these agents, so which was not there in your
mm,
previous workforce. So
yeah.
it's, you let go of one cost but then you are starting a new
You're
cost over
starting
here.
in a cost. Okay, got it, got it. Very interesting. So, like, as we can see that many products are evolving out of AI voice agent industry. Like one is SuperBryn. Like, uh, SuperBryn is handling the post call analysis and improvement of the AI voice agent, right? And there are some platforms which help you to create dashboards out of the voice agent summaries and voice how many voice calls has been made by the AI voice agents and something like that. So to provide a clear dashboarding experience to your customers. So like there are many categories of products emerging out of the AI voice agent industry. So what new categories of products do you anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years emerging out of the space? Like if you can give us a rough idea.
Okay, so I'm hoping that there will be no new and interesting use cases which comes out of voice AI, because now people have the ability and the means to cook up and think a lot of wild things. Uh, some of the interesting, the use cases and the tools that I see coming up is, one is in language translation, real live
Okay.
translation. So, for example, you are speaking in, so right now we both speak in a common language, English, right? I'm
Right.
from
Right.
Kerala. I speak Malayalam. I hope
Right.
Hindi, I assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you speak in Hindi, let's just say. But then what if I speak in Malayalam and you can understand it perfectly in your language, and you
Mm-hmm.
speak in Hindi and I can understand perfectly in my language? So over
Mm-hmm.
a call, if that happens, over your customer service calls, over over your video calls and things like that, whoever logs in can speak in their language, and the party who is sitting at the other end can perfectly understand it in theirs. So that sort of language translation, real live language translation. There are already
Mm-hmm.
tools out there. There are beta tools out there over the video calls, where
Yeah.
even a person speaking in Chinese on one end, the other person speaking in English or French or whatever on the other end, but then they can
Yeah.
seamlessly communicate. One is
Mm-hmm.
language translation. Second is accent adjustments. So particularly in case of BPOs that you have seen, if you're serving a client from to abroad, so normally they have this accented voice which comes in, right? May not always be perfect, but what if
Right.
you speak in your natural whatever English that you know, but then the person sitting on the other hand hears it as this perfect accented American English and the likes. So that's another use case which is coming up. And
Mm-hmm.
also things that in the periphery of voice AI, like in terms of noise suppression, like the background noise suppressions, all are improving at a rapid pace. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I see which makes real value, uh, that is coming up in the space.
Hmm. So there are a couple of products coming up in the AI voice space. Like we can see some of the beta versions out there. Like recently, Google Meet also released this feature, right? Which you talked
Hmm.
about, the
Yeah.
live translation on call.
Hmm.
So the features are coming up in the market. Each and every day there is a progression in the space, and I believe that in the next 3 to 5 years there'll be like a massive boom with all the AI agents communicating and helping people out to achieve what they would assume they would have done like way back, right? With the human agents that they have hired or they like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let's talk about your hackathon. Like you guys recently had HackGen AI 2025. Tell us something about that, and like what's the vision behind it, and how do you see the evolution of generative AI in India? Like let's go step by step. Let's tell us about HackGen AI first, and then you can proceed with the
Yeah.
other questions.
So HackGen AI is happening on 19th and 20th of July
Okay.
at Kerala Startup Mission here in Cochin. So the vision was to have young startups and college going students to have a platform where they can come have a 24-hour hackathon on problem statements related to media, to voice, to design. So specifically in those areas, it's not for a generic purpose. The reason
Okay.
why is the number of hackathons, although there are much plenty, something that is specifically for these fields you don't see much or hear much. So we want to have people give people a platform where, like I said, crazy ideas are out there, but then people need a platform at least to come see, experiment it for 24
Right.
hours, like the best they can, the minimum bare minimum MVP, if they can bring about, get that confidence.
Right.
So what we envision out of that is to have that new generation of startups which come up, think about the craziest things that they can think, code it up, and then hopefully they can take wings, because there will be support of the government, support of the startup missions, prizes, and then there will be pitch competitions at the end of it, provided their idea is fantastic. And so
Mhm.
they also get a platform to launch that crazy idea they thought like nobody is ever going to have, but then they can showcase it, get the traction. Hopefully they can start their own startup in the future and the likes. Yeah.
Interesting. And how can anyone register into this hackathon?
So there is a registration link, I think, in the poster that I have shared. There's a registration link. Please register with your team, and there will
Hmm.
be a filtering process. So I think we almost have 400, 500 registrations as of now. Top
Okay.
60 registrations and participants will be chosen for the hackathon, and then from
Hmm.
there we'll have the top three, four ideas. Yes,
Interesting. So I'll also put the link to the registration link in the description of this video as well. So many people can have a look at it. They can explore what HackGen AI is, and they can also register with their teams out there. Okay.
definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are also, like, you also mentioned in your LinkedIn headlines that you are a part of Antler Air 4 cohort, right?
Mhm.
So many of us are not aware about it, what exactly it is, because many of us focus on Y Combinators and such communities, but uh, usually people haven't heard about Antler. So tell us something about that, and tell us how that experience has shaped your growth as a founder and influencer at and influence Superbrain's trajectory.
Yeah, sure. So Antler is a big VC name. I think they're based in Singapore. They've been around for a
Mm-hmm.
long, long time. So they run this cohort called Entrepreneur in Residence program. It's a
Okay.
residency program for lasting about 4 months, of which 1 month is contact classes in the Antlers headquarters at Bangalore. In India, it happens all over the globe. In India, it happens at Bangalore.
Okay.
So I was part of their fourth cohort, which happened last year. So for me, Antlers AIR is special because that was my first platform where I explored what entrepreneurship is. So I come from a research background, like had zero experience in entrepreneurship. So for somebody like me who was a newbie to this platform was great because it really helps you, chip away a lot of your preconceived notions. It makes you understand what entrepreneurship is. There are real life stories from people who entrepreneurs who have built great companies, great startups. So examples of theirs, and then there is classes like basics as well, like how do you set up the company, how do you validate your idea, what your MVP should look like, how do you find your co-founders. So multiple things that you get a lot of clarity
Mm,
on. And then in order to apply to an AI program, you need to have an idea that you present, you pitch, and then they validate the idea, and then that's how you get into the program. And from there, you because the before I got into the program, I was like, this is the idea that I'm going to work on completely. And then they challenge you to figure out, hey, this idea has all of those things, all of those facets, which makes it successful or not. And then helps you also to understand, if it's not working, pivot, change it, find new things, find new ideas and the likes. So it was a great experience to sort of it was like a pressure cooker sort of thing that, suddenly whatever you should have learned by trial and error in 6 to 7 months time, you're learning it in a month's framework. And so that was
Mm.
super helpful. And as part of Antler, I was there in Bangalore, and that's how I met, not through Antler, but then when I came to Bangalore, that's how I met my current co-founder, Nikita. So I think that was a
Okay.
happy outcome of the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. So the initial grind that every startup requires before entering the real market. So that is what you get out of Antler, right? You get
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you get the learnings, you get the initial that you need to, the initial know-hows on how to handle situations and how you can find your peers, how you can validate your idea and like that.
Yes. Yes. And
Mm,
to actually
okay.
see people who has built amazing startups tell their stories, how they started out first,
Okay.
so much inspiration.
Great, great, great. So, I was reading an article, which mentioned that over 800 million Indians are, uh, these days, preferring voice over text, right? So, like, what's your perspective over the future of a voice first India, where people will be using, not just AI based voices, but voices over text for their daily task and daily working, right? So, and what does that shift will bring, benefit for startups and developers out there in India,
I believe it's already happening because the simple example is you have WhatsApp, right, which is prevalent
right?
across, and anybody and everybody knows how to use WhatsApp, right? And and on a scale, how many do you think sends voice messages instead of text messages? Majority of us send voice
Right.
messages. I particularly do because I'm so lazy in typing the whole thing. So, and again, it's so easy because you press the button, you say whatever you want, and then you send it. It's as easy as that. They made it very, very easy. Now, think about it. As somebody who is illiterate, who cannot type, irrespective of the languages, even they can use it because of this particular facility, because their voice is enough to send the message, and that's super
Right.
easy to do that. So that's
Right.
why it's adoption. That's why that number that you mentioned, that 800 million prefer voice over text, it's not a surprising number. It's an expected number, because even the people in the lower tiers, they are using WhatsApp because of this particular feature only. They do their
Mm,
they send their daily messages, their tasks, all of it via voice, and it's very natural for them, as natural as speaking to the next person. So it's that
mhm.
wave is here already. I don't think it's something that we need to wait for the future. It's here already.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing is, because that is sort of tested out, that for
Mm,
even for this 800 million masses, voice is preferably great over text, which means that there is a great potential of applications which are voice first versus text first or click first sort of applications, where
mhm.
you can interact with, let's just say, an e-com applications by talking to it, or your bank application, via talking to it, and things like that. So I think that shift of every, your phone based applications moving to a voice first interface versus a text, or click 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 and go through the pages sort of interface, is going to be dead.
Mhm.
Because that's how you're going to reach the masses.
Right.
Because voice is not a barrier for them.
Yeah.
When you put a text or a click click sort of thing, is when they feel, oh, I'm not part of the system. But then for
Mm,
voice, they're already part of it, and then it's seamless for them.
definitely. Yeah. Interesting insights. So I think this brings, us to the end of this conversation, and, like, before we conclude this conversation, I would like you to address our audience, something which you would like, a message that they should know about with regards to AI, and, how they should be aware in this AI, evolving or AI emerging era, and, few words for our normal audience out there watching this podcast.
Okay. The AI era is already here, and I think you and me are at the right point in history, at the right
Mm,
time, where it has it's made our life so much easier, right?
mm,
So whatever. what AI has done for us, it has democratized a lot of things. What earlier used to require specialized trainings and all, now you
Mhm.
can do it. You know, you and me can do it. I can do web designing today, versus earlier I had zero clues of how to even design a web. So so many things, so many which helps us be jack of all trades today, versus being focused on one thing that you have studied earlier. Today you have an opportunity to learn across multiple areas, be good in those
Mhm.
areas. So it also comes with the responsibility and the expectation that you will be that when you apply for a job, that they expect you have explored all of these areas, at least minimal of all of these AI tools, and there are a bunch of which comes every single day, uh,
Right.
solving so many pain points that we had earlier. So
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
expectation is that that as a person that we have explored all of these, or at least have a base idea of what each of these do, and are good at that, basic Canva skills, all of it, which is like, it's like the bare minimum that anybody is expecting out of any job applicant, or even us today. So AI is here, and then it's up to us to make it part of our lives, or you know or not. And I don't think there is even an option available out there that I don't want to be anything, I don't want to do anything with AI. I don't think that option is even out there anymore. It's
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's so enmeshed with anything and everything that you do today. So yeah.
Hmm. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Neetu ma'am, for being on the show. And we would love to see you on our future endeavors with many more entrepreneurs and business leaders out there. We'll be having a common discussion when we'll be having common discussion, or any future video or podcast that we'll be having with them. We'll definitely love to see you on that video. Till then, I would like to uh, conclude this podcast. And it was great talking to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.